Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're talking about the one and only ICP. Now, listen, you know me, I am super high on ICP. I think it is going to do well this cycle, despite what some people are saying, despite what some people think. I still believe you can be getting, amazing gains. I would say at least probably 10 to 15x on the lower end, and I still stand true to that, right? Despite there being some type of sell off in the last 2 days, I am still not worried. I am still not phased. And my bias and analysis still remains the same. When we go to the weekly, ladies and gentlemen, right, we can see despite there being a sell off and despite us being almost at $6.10 at one point and us being back down to 533, you know, everything is still technically on track in terms of the candle closes. Now, of course, we still have a couple days to go. So we will see how the end of the week plays out. But we can see, ladies and gentlemen, right? When we take it from here, we have a triple bottom. We have this triple bottom. We have this higher low over here at 484. We have another higher low at 510. And technically, right now, we are still on track because even if we were to close this way, we have a close at 533. So everything is still on track. The floors are consistently rising, and I'm not worried, right? I'm not worried. Yes, there was some type of sell off. Yes, there was some type of correction. That's because Bitcoin absolutely got nuked. Bitcoin was at roughly 124,000, and then it just sold off. Now, the reason why I believe there was a sell off is because, ladies and gentlemen, we swept the all time highs. Usually, when we sweep the highs, there's some type of manipulation. That is just the way it usually is. That's just the way the cookie crumbles a lot of the times. We'll sweep something, we'll sweep a key area, kind of like the way back in December, $108,000 got swept, right? We just went a little bit higher and then we had some type of sell off and correction. And obviously, in this context, we had a big pullback down to 75K. Now, I'm not saying we're going to have some next level big pullback for Bitcoin, but some type of sell-off usually does happen when we get to highs, because the market makers, they don't want you to just be able to get it for free, right? They know people have long positions. They know some people think Bitcoin's going to break through and go up. And that is what people are ultimately waiting for. It is usually when the markets get a little bit trickier, right? Where you kind of don't know, it's a 50-50, where they really just start exploding and expanding out. But yeah, that is one of the reasons pretty much why ICP did fall. When we look at something like the dominance as well for Bitcoin, we can see the Bitcoin dominance has been lingering around pretty much 59%, let's just say, and 60%. In the last few days, it just hasn't done much. And, this weekly candle is kind of whatever. It is fairly weak. We might see the next week go up a little bit, right? We might see this area contested, and two things are going to happen. Either we fall through, fall flat, or we do see some type of redemption where we go back up and then we start creating higher highs, potentially, having one more leg in Bitcoin dominance. Obviously, we'll have to see, we'll have to monitor everything. This is important because when Bitcoin dominance usually does go down, right? Altcoins just see a natural gain. When Bitcoin goes down, and Bitcoin dominance is kind of the same, or Bitcoin dominance starts going up, it's kind of a double negative effect, which is why altcoins are bleeding. I still think that altcoins this cycle and ICP this cycle will be heavily rewarded. It's just you just have to be very patient, and pretty much just not get baited into selling your coins, because there will be an altcoin season. We can see, ladies and gentlemen, last time when I talked about ICP, we did say how we are looking for daily candle closes, and we do not want a candle close below 614. Well, what happened for us, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we closed at 602, and we can see that we also got a reaction. So some people might think it's a coincidence. For me, I think, this is always just manipulation. the way I see these markets are just pure manipulation, which is ultimately what's going to get you your bag anyways. You can't really complain about the manipulation because it's not like us people have control. Even if all of us took our money combined, right? Pretty much just 6,000 people that are subscribed to me and we all bought something, we really wouldn't move it unless it's some really low market cap coin that maybe it's around 5,000 market cap, 50,000 market cap, 100,000 market cap. Maybe if all of us, yeah, we can move that little coin, but we're not moving something like ICP. We're not moving something like these other coins. ICP on average has like 90 million volume in the last 24 hours, right? When we go and look right now, even we can see ICP, Internet Computer Protocol, right? In the last 24 hours, it had 91 million in volume. Yeah, we're not moving that. I'm sorry to tell you, we're not moving that. Okay. So we need the market manipulation and we will have the market manipulation on our side. Since we are on this page, we might as well talk about the basics. We are currently ranked 39 out of 9,489 cryptos. So we are, pretty much in the top half a percent. And we can see we're currently at 532, 2.85 billion in market cap, 92 million volume in the last 24 hours, and everything is still looking fairly solid. When we go back, ladies and gentlemen, right, this is going to be a game of patience, a game of looking for reversals. One of the areas we could actually start reversing is now, right? Because we can see we are actually on a pretty decent support. Now, does that mean we are going to reverse now automatically? No, we don't have confirmation yet. Okay, there's zero confirmation that we are going to start to reverse. And that is just reality. But like I said, we will monitor the next few days. Daily candles as of right now are also very important, but I'm mainly looking at the weekly because, like I said, despite this weekly candle being a nice sell off, it is technically still on track to create higher lows, right? I reversed this last time around, and for me, this is one of those things where, despite right? Despite price action looking the way it looks, it still looks fairly bearish, right? For me, this is something that would sell off in the future if I were looking to short it, right? Go back down all the way here, at least to these levels, which obviously, if we flip it, right? If we flip it, that means ICP is going to be going up. I still think, we still have roughly 2 weeks left in August. I still think there's a high chance we do hit this nice zone over here of roughly $7. I overall still am super, super optimistic about ICP. I still believe we are on track to be exploding, right? We have gone sideways 4 months, and I expect a breakout sooner than later. I do know, ladies and gentlemen, once we do start breaking out, we are going to smash these last highs. We're going to smash this $15 high and pretty much this $21 high. You know, when people were buying down here, they were looking at these zones, right, to smash 730 and of course $8 and probably even this zone of 984 all the way here. Right? And for them getting up to, $20 was crazy, right? For them getting up to $20 was crazy. But you have to remember that now it might seem crazy for us to get to $15 or $21, but it's not going to be crazy, once we realize, wait, we're all the way up here at $30, which for me, that is still the minimum ICP should hit this cycle is $30, which will only be roughly 6x from here. But I still do think, ladies and gentlemen, that ultimately the A to Z plan is that we are in an accumulation zone. We are going sideways. We are going to burst up. We probably sell off a little bit off of the $30 mark, probably retest off this $20 zone before we then have our next leg all the way up to $72, upwards of even potentially $90. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy it. I love you guys so much. If you have any questions, make sure to join the private community. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.